Welcome to the Fast Mode podcast series. I'm Tara Neal, and with me today is Ryan O'Hanlon, VP of Global Sales and Marketing at MDS Global. MDS Global powers revenue growth, customer experience, and cost reduction for digital telcos. The company offers TM Forum compliant BSS for B2B, B2C, B2B2X, and IoT business models. Their highly scalable cloud-based solutions include converged monetization, customer experience, eSIM lifecycle, and AI-driven decision intelligence platforms. Ryan joins us ahead of DTW Ignite 2026, taking place at Copenhagen next week. Welcome, Ryan. Great to have you on today's episode.
Thank you very much, Tara. I'm very happy to be here.
Awesome. So, you guys are heading to DTW next week, so that's kind of exciting. I know DTW, spotlights a lot of new themes and latest trends in telco. So one of the things that it spotlights would be autonomous networks, AI, and composable IT and ecosystems. Those are the key industry themes for this year. So, you guys are involved. So, which of these tracks is MDS Global most focused on this year?
No, thanks, Tara. To be honest, we're focused on all three, if you like. Obviously, from an autonomous networks perspective, whether that be from the customer experience perspective or operational efficiency, or then, of course, talking about AI from our sort of strategy and approaches is focused on what are the tangible AI aspects and views, and how do we build something thereafter. So not just for AI's sake, but for this particular year at DTW, we're focused on the IT and ecosystems. And the reason for that is in our engagements with prospects and customers, we're recognizing that these ecosystems, and it's becoming quite a buzzword, if you like, but these
Yes.
ecosystems are ever expanding and they're blowing up, and therefore our prospects and our customers are sitting right in the middle of this, and how do they address these opportunities? And that's where we like to see it, all these complex opportunities that are presented to them, and therefore what is the strategy and the approach to drive that? So hence for us, from a composable IT and from a business support management system vendor such as ourselves, Composable BSS fits nicely into that sort of frame and theorem. So therefore, a lot of our engagement with our customers and the teams that we'll be meeting there, as well as we have a speaking slot there, which we'll talk about in a few minutes as well, is very much focused around how do you be agile and how do you deploy and grow as your business grows. So hence that's the focus for us this year.
Wow, that's exciting. Like you rightly pointed out, a lot of telcos are looking to become more agile in their operations. We know that trends are changing, new trends are coming on, and you have to be fast enough to respond to those changes. And you at the fundamental layer, you have to be really agile, and which means that your architectures, must support you in being, in achieving that level of agility. Well, you talked about the composable architectures, right? So as these gain traction, how are next-gen cloud-native BSS platforms changing the economics and speed to market for MVNOs and digital telco brands?
So if I think about that, Tara, if I look at where the environment and the domains currently sit, there's a lot of barriers that have been presented. So with this ecosystem growth and the ability to grow rapidly, it often leads to a lot of disconnected systems. And so trying to achieve a particular business growth it ends up being quite workaround or silo orientated, and it starts to accumulate a lot of technical debt in that particular space. So you could refer to legacy architectures, but I think it's not only legacy or sort of slow domains that are in there. These are existing domains, because each time a particular vertical or business case comes to play, a new stack has been deployed because they need to get that out there quickly. So there's a lot of separate systems, and that then starts to introduce complexity in your operational domain itself. And so there's fragmented BSS environments that continue to be built, and you get this Frankenstein BSS environment, if you like. So,
Yes.
of course, we should be very much focused on customer experience in this whole process. But you talk about a digital path or a digital journey that the consumers and even the enterprises need to follow. And for us, we recognize that those BSS domains need to make it a smooth process. So whether that's coming through from the digital channels of an app or a unified interface through to the product catalog, the order management, and the rating, charging, and billing domain, whether it's crediting, dunning, down right through to the provisioning onto the particular network, that entire journey needs to be smooth from a customer experience perspective. But but what we're recognizing is that these aspects of deploying multiple networks, multiple stacks, increases the costs. So composable IT is this view and this concept of building with your business, being agile, that terminology once again, but being more modular in the approach. So as your business team start to look at addressing a different vertical, a different segment, another revenue growth stream, it should be simpler and should be more seamless in terms of how they're actually building across that. Now, what we recognize is that this ecosystem again is getting larger, bigger, more complex, and there's a lot of multi-dimensional charging metrics that are coming into play. There's a lot of multi-layered partnerships that are being brought to the fore. And for us, deploying a BSS revenue management stack within the ecosystem to actually to provide that control, that coordination, and that orchestration between these multi-layered dimensional charging components and these multi-layered partnerships starts to introduce that ability to do the growth. So the BSS domain in our mind should be the catalyst for growth. So we have seen in a lot of our communications in the particular areas, there's a saturation of players. Case in point, if you look at the MVNO space, there's a multitude of MVNOs that are coming into play. And what they challenge with is how do they start to differentiate themselves, because they start to become a commodity price jockey, and they don't want to be that. They need to be looking at differentiation. Similarly, in a different segment, whether that's in the alternative networks, the alternative network providers have rolled out the fiber. And now, how do they start to differentiate themselves? They also are price sensitive and becoming a commodity price jockey. So, what is the differentiation in that space? So, for us, the composable BSS embedded within the ecosystem is absolutely a catalyst for growth.
So, from what you have mentioned, how you have described it, when we look at composable architectures, it really gives telcos the option to just choose the components they want or build gradually, move with the business, move with the traction that they see, right? So, which enables them, you don't have to basically pour in too many resources at the onset of your business before you scale. So, you can grow slowly, invest as you grow. That's the kind of flexibility, right?
Correct, and adapting to the market opportunities in that space. So, and that's kind of fundamental. So, build once and evolve continuously is our sort of tagline.
Wow, interesting. So, coming back to DTW next week, right? So you'll be speaking at the event, and you're speaking on rethinking commercial telco models through diversified connectivity offerings. So we are talking about, going beyond the basic, data, basic voice and SMS. So as these traditional voice and data revenues continue to mature, right? What new monetization opportunities should operators be prioritizing, and what role does flexible BSS play in enabling this?
It's a magic question there, Tara. I like it. But what we see is the digital service providers, they possess a powerful opportunity to enable connectivity and services through a diverse range of market segments. So stick with me in terms of if I build this particular picture with you. But if you look at a DSP sitting in the middle, they have the opportunity to address the consumer market with the differentiated services and so on. They also then can look at the IoT and enterprise domain. So from an enterprise, you can look to target different verticals, whether that's an agricultural company or vertical, looking at closed user groups or improved IoT propositions, or whether you're needing to look at a multimedia organization who are providing set-top boxes and communications through media, but also building out in terms of voice communications or data communications. But then there's one fundamental area that we at MDS Global are finding that is quite important, and we are positioning ourselves quite strongly in, is that a lot of the network operators have invested heavily, whether that's digging up the ground and laying the fiber, or that's rolling out 5G standalone and 6G and beyond that's coming. There needs to be that terrible word of monetization in that domain. So how do they monetize that network, if you like? And so they started to expose their networks through API exposure, and this is one of the things that is coming to the fore within in TM Forum as well. But that presents quite a massive opportunity for a number of business segments, whether they're from an MVNO, MVNE, alternative network, or even API developers. That ability to get that API exposure and utilize the APIs that are coming from the network to start to generate innovative and new services and solutions to grow the revenue. Now, I know that back in the day, we always had those particular metrics coming from the network, but now with API exposure, you can actually cherry pick which ones you want, and therefore create a richer, more sophisticated service offering. You then start to progress further forward, and you look at private networks. So whether that's a private network around a racetrack, or whether it's around a hockey or football stadium itself, there is multiple inflection points within that process that DSPs can look to monetize, to look to grow revenue, not just necessarily around the connectivity itself. You then start to talk about travel and roaming and eSIM travel, and how that's exploded over time, and how the eSIM model has allowed access and communications to be for the consumer to grow and grow and grow. But there's an area of that can move from just being consumer to within the B2B space itself. And then, of course, there's that concept around network as a service, tying quite closely to the API monetization and exposure. You can look at how do you actually sell a network to a network. So you're doing almost on behalf of going forward. And then, of course, you have the OTT players and how you bundle these in. So what I'm trying to say, Tara, is that there is an ability where it comes across very complex, but there's a lot of relationships and multi-dimensional charging metrics and layered partnerships that actually presents a massive opportunity for the DSPs, and looking at how do you provide a platform that actually coordinates between this, because often there's a lot of limitation and inflexible systems in place that limit that ability to differentiate in the marketplace itself.
Well, it's very interesting. You brought up about the APIs, right? So we are in the API economy, as they call it, and I guess yeah, we can really talk about this, but without the tools in the back end, right? And when
Yeah.
we say tools, the BSS that we are talking about, that can basically translate or help operators and all the partners in the ecosystem drive towards, like what you said, monetization. I mean, we can't escape the word, so we have to. I mean, we are all here for that. So I guess. But yeah, with better tools like APIs with API connectivity, I mean, basically you get all the data that you need. And we are in a data economy as well. So getting those data points when you need them and enables you to sell better and target better. So yeah, interesting.
So if I may just sort of continue, Tori, you spoke about the speaking slot within DTW, and this is where we will talk again, paint the journey and take through a scene. So if you look at a particular entrepreneur and you start from an eSIM travel perspective, the entrepreneur or the enterprise starts to look at, or maybe potentially I could look to be a value-added reseller. Or as I go further forward, maybe I want to be a thicker virtual network operator myself, and then taking that through and building in different types of metrics and bringing in different carriers, whether that's just over the air or whether that's the different kind of bearer, if you like, from an ISP perspective, and then ultimately growing your business base from consumer to B2B. So your ecosystem in that space continues to grow. And this is where the message that we'll be looking to talk through during the Loft presentation at TM Forum. We'll be discussing a unified commercial layer. So a single source of truth, an area where it provides you one data model that allows you to have endless possibilities. So I'm really looking forward to engaging with the team at TM Forum and learning from them, as well as to we understanding how certain things have triggered and how they can pivot going forward.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, we see a lot of themes at the show, and the focus, of course, it's going to be on AI. But I think BSS is at the heart of all this because it enables basically, earlier we talked about the B2B to X, right? So the ecosystem, and
Yep.
BSS platforms today enable so many players to come together. You can just plug yourself in and start becoming, like what you said, a reseller. But then you need a tool that enables you to account, the customer spending and the revenue share and all these complexities. So, definitely the bread and butter of telecoms today. Um,
Absolutely. There was a statement that was once made to me by a CTO where he said, "I'm not going to launch it if I can't charge or make money from it." Exactly right. But there is that aspect of allowing the journey to be seamless and smooth, which was quite important, and that coordination between those multi layers is where we see the fundamental area that needs to be improved on, and we're playing quite heavily in that domain.
And that's where the solutions come into place. And talking about solutions, MDS Global last year, you guys won the eSIM and Lifecycle Management Enabler title at the Fast Mode Awards. Okay, so looking ahead, do you see eSIM reshaping customer acquisition, digital onboarding, and new service opportunities for both mainstream telcos and MVNOs?
I think as part of that question, you refer to digital onboarding. I think that's fundamental in this approach. I'll give you my own life experience. Last week I was traveling abroad, and I went across continents, so not just across particular current countries themselves. And I had two different experiences from my eSIM profile loading, onboarding, and so on. One side was fairly simple. It happened to work quite well, but on the other side, I just couldn't get it to work. And I'm one in the industry, and I really struggled to actually figure out what little tapping I needed to do. So there still is a lot of improvement around that orchestration that's necessary from the customer journey. I often say to the sales team here at MDS, make the sales journey for our customers easy. It's the same story for me in terms of the onboarding for eSIM. And so, yes, we're very proud to have won the Fast Mode eSIM and Orchestration award last year. So thank you to Fast Mode for recognizing us in that space. So we continue to grow that and evolve in that space, because I think, and we at MDS feel that there's a lot more to come. It starts to become a unique identifier in different aspects, in different scenarios, and there's a lot of regulation in different particular countries. We can see that this can start to become the token of recognition, that token of authorization going forward. The eSIM is not only based around and the use of that in the consumer space, but we're seeing this growing into the IoT, so eSIM IoT. And one of the key areas that we'd like to be positioning and are positioning is that you can have a fantastic connectivity management domain, and then you have a BSS revenue management domain. For us, unifying those two, so providing a unified connectivity management platform with an end-to-end BSS revenue management platform, allows the customer journey to be smooth, because there becomes a single source of truth in that
Yep.
space. So my challenge that I referred to was, I didn't know whether there was a fault on the eSIM. I don't know if there was a fault in the connectivity management, or there was a fault in the orchestration and the BSS side of things. But by unifying the connectivity management and the BSS domain, you have a single source of truth, and that whole operational efficiency and journey is reduced. So from an MDS perspective, having won the particular award in the orchestration, we're starting to reinvest more in that particular space. And if you recall the journey that I spoke to you about as part of my Loft discussion, that eSIM journey and orchestration plays fundamental role in that progression.
Oh, amazing. You know, I think your experience basically resonates with a lot of people. I mean, we are all from telco, right? And it's kind of embarrassing when you when you need basic like roaming connectivity and then you just lend it to another country. I had a similar experience 3 weeks ago, and I wasn't even traveling that far. I was just a neighboring country and I had the same issue. So yeah, like you said, a single source of truth and the importance of having these two platforms coming together. The connectivity side of things and the BSS side of things. They must be on a unified platform, and I think that's basically really fundamental. If we are going to promise people and deliver on our promise. So, yep, exactly.
Good, good. I'm glad you see the view there too, Tara. Thank you.
Yeah. So, yep, awesome. So, I guess, that brings us to the end of our session. So, thank you, Ryan. Thank you for joining us today and for sharing these insights and especially on the role of next gen cloud native BSS in driving the digital telco. And at the same time, safe journey to Copenhagen, and also all the best, for your presentation at the show.
Great. Thank you very much, Tara, and thank you for the time and the questions today.
Awesome. And to everyone tuning in, thank you guys for listening. If you want to learn more, visit mdsglobal.com and follow us for more updates and insights as we continue to uncover the latest in technology and telecommunications. See you in our next session. Bye-bye.